Hello and welcome to the video for Monday, October 19th for, don't tell me, Adobe After Effects. Okay, here we go. Oh.
Sounds like a Merry greeting.
Hear all kinds of like strange noises.
Oh, that's me getting up and getting my drink.
Oh, okay. How you doing?
Good. I'm pretty ecstatic for for this next project.
Really?
Yeah. I'm hoping I did some work in the direction it's supposed to be, but we'll see when you explain to everybody what an abstract
Okay.
presentation, yeah.
Sounds good. Cool. How's everybody else doing?
Hanging in there.
Yes. As long as you're not literally hanging, then we're okay.
And the last time I checked, no, I'm not hanging.
It's good. You wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm good. Still here. Okay, well, let me, while you guys are coming into the class, I'm gonna put in the attendance. Let's see, Spike, you're having trouble with your camera and your computer's slowly dying. Okay, yikes. Sounds like a scary Monday morning for you. So, all right, well, Spike, if you need to communicate via text, that's fine. Like I said, let me go put you guys into the attendance. All right. Okay, so we're going to attendance tracking. And After Effects. All right. So you all here is here. All these folks are here. Okay. Present, and then let's see if that's okay. Good. All right. I think I got you guys all taken care of here.
I just joined. Did you get me or?
Yeah, I did. I just got all three of you guys that joined. Okay, let me look at the class website here. Pima. Here we go. And then After Effects. Okay, so here's some more people coming in. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us, those of you who just came in. Chris, I can see that you're on that other account. Did you want to try again today with your presentation? Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe he. Well, I was talking to Chris. So I think Chris, you're on the Hayden account, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to try your presentation again today?
Yeah, it should be in the folder now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me see if I can bring it up then. Let's see. Here's Safari. And then let's see. Okay, so now I gotta look for Chris. Display. Okay. And then dar250. I see two folders here. Okay, well, we'll try this one. All right. All right, this one just has a bunch of finished projects in it. It doesn't look like it has a. Let's try.
Might be in the other one because I was actually in this class before, so I might have 2 folders.
All right, I see. Because yeah. Yeah, I see 2 of them, but I don't see. I see 2 folders, but I don't see anything that looks like a project. What maybe? But I see a bunch of file names too. What's the project called?
Let me check. Real quick.
Oh yeah, okay. This is the 20. This is the folder you made in 2020. And
It should be called Project 2 Finished.
oh, I see. So it's there it is. It's a video, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. All right. You just want me to play it?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. So let me share my screen. Okay. Looks like it's loading or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's taking so long.
Okay. Well, we'll give it another second here. Okay. Have you I may have asked you this already, but have you used Media Encoder before?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think the issue may be that it's such a large file.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So what you want to do is there's a program called Adobe Media Encoder that comes with the Adobe Suite, and you can open your file in there, and then you can make it a smaller file. In
Okay.
fact, yeah.
Yeah, I can put it through that and then try to upload
Yeah,
it.
because this is the problem right here. It's 8 gigabytes. Which is
Oh,
pretty
I
big.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Do you want me to show you how to use Media Encoder?
If you have time, I mean, I could probably figure it out.
Yeah, no, I can show you. Let me just launch it. So it's this thing called. It's got a little icon called ME, and in After Effects, in the same window where it says composition at the top of After Effects, you can come down and you can say add to After Effects render queue. There's one choice there, and there's a second one that says add to Adobe Media Encoder render queue, or add to Adobe Media Encoder queue. And if you do that, it launches Media Encoder, which is a separate program, but it's way better at compressing things. It'll make things much, much smaller. but it takes a second to load. So I'm launching it right now. And then by the time it's done, we'll come back and we'll take a look at it. So
Okay.
I happen to have a video on my desktop here I can just throw in there and show you how it works. But while we're doing that, let me check the chat here. Says maybe try and send it directly through an email. We'll let you open with Vic Player or something. Or VLC Player, I think that's what it is. Let's see. Well, I can always try downloading it. Let me see. That would be Safari. Where are you? Where are you? Here. Yeah, let me try downloading it. Okay, download anyway. Oh, exceeds the maximum size that Google can scan. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll try downloading it and see if that'll work. All right. Meanwhile, let me just check something real quick. So that would probably be here. So then I'm gonna check and see if these people who's here. So Rachel, did you have a chance to put a presentation together?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay. All right. So give me just a second. I want to do this demo for Chris and anybody else who wants it about Media Encoder. So anyway, like I said, you go into you're in After Effects, you make your movie or whatever your project, then you go to the composition drop down window, and you go to Add to Adobe Media Encoder. It'll launch this program and it'll bring your file up right here at the top. And what you can do is you click on this drop down menu and you change it to whatever quality and size setting you want. Like I always just because it's stupid easy, I just go to something like YouTube 480p SD, which just makes a really small file, right? Now it looks like it can't find this file for me, so I'm gonna delete this file, and I'm gonna drop in a video file that I have sitting on my desktop. So sorry, I got a lot of stuff on my desktop right now. So I've got this one called Bacteria Blue. Now the trick is going to be finding After Effects or Media Encoder and dragging it over. ME, where are you, ME? Right here. Okay, there's Media Encoder. Here's my Bacteria Blue. Okay, so it's adding that to the queue. And of course, like I said, you can do that directly from After Effects. Okay, so then you just click on this drop-down menu here and change it. Like I said, I use YouTube 480p or sometimes 480p wide, but you can use 720, 1080. I mean, whatever. It depends on how small you want your file to be. But I'll click this one here. And so what happens is you just press the play button, and it goes ahead and re-renders your file in this format, and it's usually much smaller. And then you can just upload that bad boy. Okay, so that's Media Encoder. Let me close that real quick. And then while that's closing, let me see if Safari downloaded a file. Let's see. Okay, it's still downloading it. We'll probably come back to that because we got 2 gigs of 8 downloaded. So we'll have to come back to that. So I'll tell you what, Chris, is it okay if Rachel does her presentation and then maybe we see if I can play your movie?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, not a problem. All right, so Rachel, did you want to share your screen or
Yeah, so I am gonna do the screen sharing thing.
okay, I just enabled it, so now you can share your screen.
So do I just click share screen?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, and then there
Okay.
should be another blue share button, and then it should be shared.
okay, I think I got it. Oh, my preferences aren't set up for this apparently.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to try and do it?
I think it's opening the preferences now. My computer's really slow. I'm sorry.
Join the club.
Who knew it would take this long to try to get presentations? It's thinking about it.
It's thinking about whether it feels like giving it or not.
Don't worry, my laptop just spent the past, I don't know how long trying to think of if it even wants to turn on.
Yeah. I think because I've been taking these classes that require like these huge files and stuff, my computer it's really slow now.
Now, I found your folder if you want me to share it from here.
I mean, it's trying. The little wheel is spinning, you know. Oh,
Yeah.
it's sort of opening up. It's just
thinking.
yeah. Oh, it wants me to quit Zoom in order to
Oh,
share.
yeah,
So
no,
yeah, you're gonna have to be the clicker guy.
So I found, is this one called titles and text and logos, or?
Yeah, it should be pretty obvious. It's under a separate folder called presentation.
All right, so I found it, and let me share my screen. Fair warning, when Chris's file is done downloading, it may like pop up in front of my screen, and if that's the case, I'll pause and minimize it. So hopefully that won't mess up your presentation too much. But do you want me to you want to just tell me when to go to the next slide? And
Yeah, that's great.
okay, whenever you're ready.
Sorry to make you do this.
It won't be the last time. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so I'm just gonna show. I did a PowerPoint because I don't trust my computer with After Effects to not crash while I'm trying to do it live. So hopefully it's pretty easy to follow along. I just did like screenshots of the steps that I would use for each of these things. But I'm gonna do basically 3 examples of like 3 ways that I learned about that you can do like text, and then if you want to do like a logo, you can animate it. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is and hopefully it plays, but this is a video of the end product for the first one, which is a logo.
Let's see. Let me see what happens if I go into present view. Maybe it'll play then.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, I think it might be because we're downloading that huge video. Yeah, this is like 5 gigs. Let me go ahead and let's see. Is there a way to pause this, or just do I have to stop it? Let me stop the download of that one and redo this one and see if it'll play.
Lots of computer issues today.
It's like a slow booty computer day. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
Well, it looks really cool. It basically, I don't know if anyone has used trim pads yet. I wasn't super familiar with it when I looked all this stuff up to try and figure out what I wanted to do for my presentation. But it basically just it's as if you're drawing your logo. But yeah, it's really easy to do. So even though I broke it down into 7 steps, it's like, it doesn't take that long. So I mean, you can just go to the next slide, and I'll share the link to the presentation so people can view it
Okay.
if they want to later.
Okay.
But basically, you need to create a .ai file. Yeah, so Gabriel Michael asked, is this used in After Effects, the trim path, or Illustrator? So you want to make your logo in Illustrator first, and then you import it to Adobe After Effects. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So then once you've created your logo in Illustrator, you're going to go ahead and make a new file in After Effects and make a nice solid background. And next slide. And then go ahead and import the .ai file and move it down to layers. And then you want to basically change it so that you can make it into shapes, and you have to right click on the file itself and go to create and create shapes from vector layer. And then to actually get it to trim paths, that is once you've created the shape layer, you can just use the this little add button to get to the trim paths. And then you want to start where you want to end, basically move the playback head to the desired end time, and then hit end on the stopwatch. And then go back to the start time, change it to 0 so that you you basically go from invisible to fully visible. And this is supposed to be the video again, just to show you what it looks like. But yeah, if it doesn't play, probably won't. It's the same video.
Oh, right. Okay. Let's give it a minute. Maybe it'll pop in. It can't be that long.
It's not. It's so short. It plays on mine, so I don't know what the deal is. I think it's just angry.
It doesn't like Mondays.
Yeah.
Is there a link anywhere in the presentation where I can open it in a separate window or something?
I mean, I uploaded the file separately to Google Docs, but
Oh,
I also, in the link that I put on chat, you guys might have better luck. I don't know.
It works. I just checked it out. Pretty
Oh,
cool.
that's good.
well, here's your folder. So is it in this folder or is it in the above?
Yeah, it would be one of the 3 videos right on top of it. I think it might be one. Oh yeah, it's that one.
Not sure why. It's having such
I don't know if it's just your computer.
It doesn't make sense that it would have such a hard time. Maybe try clicking the link in the chat. Okay.
That's what he's on though. That's
okay. Let's try that.
It should be the same place.
Oh, I see. You mean that's the Google thing. Oh yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that doesn't help. Yikes. Okay.
I mean, no worries on my end.
Okay.
I mean, if you guys want to look at it, you know, if you want to do this, if you're interested in what it is, then yeah, I mean, check it out. But
oh, there it goes.
just took hours.
God knows why.
So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like if you do trim paths on a on like a logo or something that you make in Adobe Illustrator.
Okay, just kind of draws it for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then I also went ahead and did an example of doing text using trim paths, and it's basically the exact same steps. You just would need to do a step for each one of the elements you put in there. So yeah, create a background solid and You don't need Adobe Illustrator in order to do this to text. You can just go directly into After Effects, type the text, and then you can put like a circle around it or a box or something, and you can achieve the exact same effect, which I think is really cool. It's really easy to do. So go to the next slide. So I just did like a little mock coffee company, and then yeah, like I said, it's the exact same steps. You're just gonna skip over the Illustrator part. You just create the shapes from the text, and then you go ahead and yeah, this is just to show that that second shape layer is added. So this is there are 2 layers when you do this, and you're gonna want to work with the actual shape layer. It'll just create a new layer with a little star next to it. So next slide. And then yeah, it's just the exact same. You're gonna trim paths again. Go to the next slide. And then this is just showing that like when you do this, it's gonna separate all of the text into individual letters. And then once again, you just go end, leave it as is, hit the stopwatch. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Yep. And then go back to the beginning, change it to 0, and then it should be pretty much the same, pretty easy. Oh, and then this is really important. I learned this the hard way, but if you want to do this, make sure you do fill as no fill, and make sure the stroke is black or whatever color you want it to be, because it will look really wonky and you won't know why, and it'll be sad. And then once again, this is kind of the example of what you get if you do it. I think it looks really cool.
It does look really cool. Nice.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said nice.
Oh, okay. And then finally, I did sort of something a little bit different. This is so easy. This is like, it looks really nice, but it's like the easiest thing I could find as far as like titles. Basically, it like puts a video behind the text so that it looks like your text is like sitting on top of a video and only visible through the text. It's interesting. I don't know if you want to try to play it, but so that's kind of the end result. And then the steps are pretty similar. It doesn't use the same thing, but really, really easy. You just create a background solid, type out the text that you want, and then you just put the video layers underneath the text in your layers panel. Make sure that track mat is visible. And then you just go over to this little drop down and select alpha matte with the on the videos layer. And that's it. And that's what it'll look like with whatever text you choose.
That looks great. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry about the video troubles, but very nice presentation with several different possibilities for making cool After Effects things. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so let's see. We'll close this up here. Okay, so let's see. So Chris, I had to stop the download of your file.
I uploaded a smaller file into the drive if you wanted to try that.
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to try that. Thank you. Okay, so Safari, and then we gotta go to Chris. Okay, Chris, and this is 2020. And then this one right here.
Yeah. says it's only 93 megabytes, so it
Yeah,
should be smaller.
let me try downloading this one because it's pretty small, and maybe it'll just play in my my player.
Welcome to the future of virtual reality. Introducing VRX, the latest in VR technology. With VRX, you will be able to customize your avatar in any game. Our friends at Minecraft have given us permission to use their game in beta testing. Get ready to bring your character to life with realistic touch sensitivity, retina motion tracking, and our new awareness chip. For more information, visit our website at www.vrxgaming.com. VRX, the future of VR.
Cool. Wow, that was really nice, Chris.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I like that. Sorry about all the trouble getting it to us, but I think it was worth it. You did a really nice job.
Thanks.
How did you do the voiceover? Was that a computer talking or a real person?
No, I paid some lady online. It was like $10, but on Fiverr.com.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like yeah,
that's
and-
awesome. You got one of those people who does the voiceovers.
yeah. I wanted like a British lady to do it, so
That's
yeah,
so
it was
cool.
like $10. Yeah.
Cost it $10. That's awesome. Very.
Yeah, I think she did a good job.
Yeah, she did a great job. I mean, it seemed like the real deal. All right, good work. All right, I'm glad we finally got a chance to see that. Okay. Yeah, Gabriel said that's awesome. I was trying to do the computer voice and it sounded too robotic. Yeah. Well, there is, I'm glad Chris told us about that because, nobody wants to pay money to do their school projects, but $10, I mean, you could spend $10 buying materials to do a school project. So that's really good deal and very, very creative use of your time. Okay, awesome. So I have, let's see, let me go to After Effects. All right, so which one of these? Okay, so we agreed that the next project you were going to do was going to be about an abstract project. Now I want to give you a little bit more of a definition of that. I don't want my definition to be abstract for this abstract project, but so one of the questions you might ask is, what is abstract? And so I have this link here to the Wikipedia definition of abstract. So abstract art uses visual language of shape, form, color, and line to create a composition which may exist with a degree of independence from visual references in the world. Now, of course, they're talking about abstract visual art, paintings, and things like that. But you can use the same kind of definitions for, video or After Effects projects. And so the thing that I wanted to point out is making an abstract video is not like a license to make a video that makes no sense whatsoever. Abstraction still has a purpose. It has a purpose in that it's trying to communicate something or it's trying to evoke some kind of an emotion, right? Like we can look at this disc here and we can read all about it and why the artist created it, what they hoped to, what kind of information they wanted to communicate or what kind of emotion they wanted to evoke. But even just looking at it, you can tell that it was something that was planned and that they put effort in and they had a goal and they achieved that goal. So, it's not abstract art is not just a juxtaposition of a bunch of video clips that have nothing to do with each other, all right next to each other. You're trying to communicate something. Like if it were, I'll give you an example. If you decided your abstract project was going to be a commercial for, let's say that the current, you wanted to draw attention to the current fight for civil rights in America. You could show all of these, you know, individual scenes of things that we wouldn't quite get. It might be like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, you might show like a protester's feet, you know, and then you might show a police car driving by, and you might show, you know, politicians arguing, you know what I mean? Like you might show all of these different things, and there might be some music that kind of swells and builds. And then at the end, there might be a protester holding a sign that relates to something current. So, you know, that could be that could be considered an abstract piece. Now, you could go even further, you know, you could just show a beating heart, you know, and blood coursing through veins. I mean, you know, you can go as far sort of left field as you want with abstraction. That's why it's called abstraction. But, you know, as I've said several times now, just aim it towards something, have a goal instead of just, you know, meandering sort of wanderings. So this is, you know, you can read this definition if you want, go into a little more detail. You can always look up abstract videos on YouTube and get some more idea. And of course, you can make music that matches, you know, whatever kind of project you do. Okay, so, you know, I'm hoping that that gave you a little more definition of kind of what I'm looking for. Does anybody have any questions about that? Or do you guys feel like, you know, you have a pretty good idea of what you're going to do?
What if you don't understand abstract anything at all, ever?
Okay, well, that's fine. Okay, let's put it this way. In some ways, abstract is the opposite of figurative, which is, it's almost like the opposite of logic in a sense. Like, for example, if you wanted to make a video of somebody going to work, you might show images of them getting out of bed, getting dressed and brushing their teeth, putting their clothes on, you know, going out to their cars and driving to work, right? But an abstract version of that might be that you show somebody's eyeball, and then you show their heart pumping, and then you show like scenes of office work, and then you show coffee pouring. You know, it's like you're abstracting the scene. You're not doing a linear figurative description of what happens. You're more doing an artistic rendering of what's happening. So in this case, what I was trying to communicate to you was that this person is nervous about going to work. Maybe it's a stressful job. Maybe they need a lot of coffee. Maybe people at work give them dead eye stares or something like that. So you could use all of these kind of graphics to you know, to evoke that feeling, that emotion of fear and anxiety, you know, when going to work. So that's just one example. And of course, you know, abstraction, there's like, you know, you guys can do almost anything and it qualifies as abstraction. But I'm just saying, if you have a set path, then it makes it easier. You know, you're not just going to show the eyeball of the guy getting up and the heart pumping, and then you're not going to show a seagull flying through, because, you know, or the albatross, right? That has nothing to do with what you're trying to communicate. So Gabriel says, is abstract and avant-garde kind of the same thing? Well, that's a good question. I think there's definitely overlap between abstract and avant-garde. But I think if you went into the art, in the art world, they might argue that they're two very different things. Let's see.
They kind of are. Avant-garde is mainly just a movement. Abstract maybe was more of like an art style that came from that movement.
Okay. How abstraction served avant-garde. So it sounds like you're exactly right. So maybe people started creating abstract paintings and sculptures and stuff, and then there was a movement called avant-garde that was born out of that. Let's see, abstraction, the avant-garde, and us looking back at the many avant-garde art movements in the past. Okay, let's see what this says. Avant-garde are people or works that are experimental, radical, or unorthodox. Let's see what this says. Okay, the avant-garde, from French, which means advance guard or vanguard, literally foreguard, are people or works that are experimental, radical, or unorthodox with respect to art, culture, and society. It is frequently characterized by aesthetic innovation and initial unacceptability. The avant-garde pushes the boundaries of what is acceptable as the norm or the status quo, primarily in the cultural realm. The avant-garde is considered by some to be a hallmark of modernism as distinct from postmodernism. Many artists have aligned themselves with the avant-garde movement and still continue to do so, tracing their history from Dada through the Situationists and to postmodern artists such as the language poets around 1981. The avant-garde also promotes radical social reforms. It was this meaning that was evoked by the Saint Simonian Olinde Rodriguez in his essay L'artiste, le savant et l'industrie, The Artist, the Scientist, and the Industrialist, 1825, which contains the first recorded use of avant-garde in its now customary sense. There, Rodriguez calls on artists to serve as the people's avant-garde, insisting that the power of the arts is indeed the most immediate and fastest way to social, political, and economic reform. So, sort of an answer to your question, you know, if you want to create something that qualifies as avant-garde as opposed to abstract, I think that's fine with me. You know, there's some inspirational words in this that maybe could inspire some of your projects, you know, that they're actually using the art for a political purpose, you know, to try to improve society, improve culture, improve people, maybe. You know, so whatever take on this you want, you know, if you want to do something that's purely artistic, you know, that serves no other purpose than being beautiful abstraction, or if you want to go to the other extreme, which is something that maybe has its own beauty in it, but also is serving a purpose, like I said, trying to change something or communicate something, that's fine as well. Okay, so Rachel says she's excited about this project, which is good. I'm glad. I'm excited too. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with this. I mean, I kind of wish I were doing this project. Maybe I should do it, and then you guys can grade me.
I like that idea. Not the grading part, but I'd like to see something you do.
Okay. So Gabriel says abstract was more the concept, avant-garde is the movement. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so feel free to do research, you guys. Like, you know, go out onto YouTube and type in abstract video or avant-garde video and see what, you know, see what falls under that category, and maybe that'll inspire you as well. Okay, any more questions or comments about that? Okay, so I wanted to show you a video. Let's see, Joey has his presentation. Oh, cool. All right, so do you want to try and share your screen, Joey?
I have it in my folder.
All right, well then let me bring it up and hope there won't be the infinite delays of these other projects.
If there is, I got it on my laptop and we can figure it out.
All right, cool. So this right here?
Oh wait, no, it's not even in there. What the heck?
It's not even in the folder? Okay.
It should say project 2. I don't know why it's not loading.
Let's see. Well, maybe I got the wrong. Oh, let's see. That's Chris. So let's see, Joey.
No, that's my account. It's just I have it in there on mine.
Oh well.
Oh, hold on. I don't think you're shared to the right one.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Let's see, Joey.
Okay. There might be another one popping up right now. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, I got it. Is it under? It's under presentation.
Project 2.
Okay, project 2. Oh, I got nothing.
Nothing.
I
got stuff in mine.
Okay, well. it's the day of strangeness.
It's gonna be in the project 2 one, the third one down. Let's see. No,
got nothing there.
I could try and present it then. Let me see if it's in mine. On my desktop, it has it. Yeah, it's in that one. I don't know why it's not coming up.
I don't know, man. I'll refresh the drive.
The world today.
Oh, there we go.
You got it?
Yeah. So,
right.
Final composition or?
Yeah, final composition. It might be in a small screen. If it is, could you just make it bigger? And then there's like a what was it? It's 3 minutes long.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You want it bigger than this?
Yeah, like max. Oh no, it's not playing.
Well, let me just, it's okay. I mean, clearly I'm having some issues today, so let me just download it. It's not that big. It'll play on my computer. So while this is downloading, Rodney says, you answered my question, Cools, for my artistic music representation of a song I like to do for this. So Rodney, you're gonna take a piece of music and you're gonna make an abstract or avant-garde video in response to it?
Yeah, I was gonna like highlight the beat sounds and like try to make a mask of some lips while the lips are singing the song.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, let's watch Joey's presentation here, or his, yeah.
Hello, welcome to the JCI experience. We will now take you through some instances of the most conspiratorial moments in the history of the United States of America. At the bottom of your virtual screen there is a button labeled chat. To continue with the experience, please type your name in the chat stating that you agree to not hold the JCI conglomerate at stake for any issues that may arise after this experience. This in no means is meant to frighten the audience, it is for corporate purposes only. Thank you.
Two, 1, 0. All engines running. It drifted in the surface about 1 or 2 inches. And they'll step off the limb now. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It's so great you can't believe it. I believe it, Charlie. It's ready, Charlie. Okay, let's go. What you tell? We got all this here. It's great. Oh, this is going to be some kind of different ride. Malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free. You shall burn me once again. Not with me, Wayne. Because Midsummer sets us free.
Thank you for participating in the JCI experience. We thank you. Come back soon.
Nice. All right. I liked it. What do you guys think of Joey's project here?
Thank you.
Very cool. So now, what's the deal? What was that whole Bohemian Grove thing? I don't know if I know about that.
It's like a secret society of like, I don't know, it's like powerful like officials and like influencers that just like have these crazy meetings, and they worship this like owl god.
Really?
Yeah, like George Bush was in it. Like a lot of like really high political figures. Yeah. Gabriel said Spielberg, like a lot of like just influencers, like people in the media, people who like make art, movies, directors, writers, all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Kind of like the Freemasons. We hear about the Freemasons and their secret society.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, nice work. That was awesome. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys a video. This is, there's a lot of things you can do with After Effects. After Effects is like the Swiss Army knife of video design. You can do almost anything you can think of with it. And some people use After Effects to make cartoons and to make, video cartoons that appear on YouTube and appear on television. I believe that the Archer series of cartoons is made with After Effects, and there's many others. I can't think of them all, but you could look them up. But anyway, we're going to watch a video where a gentleman who's part of the production of animated video series, animated cartoons that are made with After Effects, talks about how he does it, how he and his team do it. So I thought we'd watch this little video real quick. Okay.
Incredible? Not as incredible as... I'm very drunk. Hi everyone, this is Athel from Yesterday's Heroes, and today I'm going to answer some viewer questions, which all basically boil down to... In this video, I'll be giving a broad overview of how I put together the 2D animated web series Yesterday's Heroes. The key ingredients are characters, which are 2D vector images, backgrounds, which are 3D models that we ink in 2D, and sounds, which I guess is pretty obvious. We combine them in After Effects to make each scene and then edit them together in Adobe Premiere. Let's start with backgrounds. The sets are all full 3D models made in Blender, which makes it easy to generate the different camera angles. Once your camera angle's decided, we render the scene, add an ink outline using the pen tool in Illustrator, which gives a sort of cartoony feel. We also render the backgrounds in multiple layers so that characters can be positioned in front of or behind the furniture. That's backgrounds. Now let's talk about characters. The characters are 2D vector images drawn in Illustrator and separated into layers based on body parts. You can see here we have an upper arm layer, forearm layer, a hand layer, and so on. The different layers will allow us to animate the character, which we'll get to in a minute. First, I just want to highlight all the different mouth and eye layers you see here, which are used for facial expressions and lip syncing. Basically, we just switch between these ready-made expressions to make it look like our characters have facial expressions. Now let's see what all of this looks like in After Effects. You can see on the left, we have all the layers for the different body parts, but now I've set up relationships between them. So the forearm is connected to the upper arm, which is connected to the torso, and so on. Once those relationships are established, we use the Duik library to turn the character into a puppet. Now I can just grab a hand and move it about, and the whole arm responds appropriately. Do you remember all those mouth and eye layers from before? I've moved them into pre-comps with time remapping enabled, so you can easily choose which one you want in any given frame without having to show and hide a dozen layers every time. The beauty of animating on a computer, aside from the undo key, is keyframe interpolation. And instead of animating every frame myself, I just specify a few keyframes, and After Effects will blend or interpolate everything in between. In this example, I've specified 4 different positions for the hand, but when we play the animation, the in-between frames are calculated automatically. Now let's talk about putting a shot together. Each shot is a separate composition in After Effects, and here's one I prepared earlier. You can see I've added the background layers, the characters, and I've positioned everyone accordingly. And because the characters are all vector-based, we can scale them up or down to fit the scene with no loss of quality. I then add all the dialogue clips, spacing them just so for optimal comic timing. Now the scene is ready to animate. We move all the dialogue into the appropriate character's composition, which is where we'll do all the lip syncing, facial expressions, hand movements, and so on. Once that's done for each character, we go back to the main scene composition and deal with all the bigger character movement like walking, being dropped, or falling off a chair. The shots are exported to separate video files, which we edit together in Premiere. So you see here we have two videos, the angle on Dora and the angle on Chuck. Here's what they look like separately.
No auditions at all? Giving up?
The market's super tough. Have you considered? Worth exploring, but not what I was going to say. And now here's what they look like when you edit them together.
No auditions at all?
The market's super tough. Have you considered?
Giving up?
Worth exploring, but not what I was going to say. The music and background sounds are also added in Premiere because they often span scenes or need to continue uninterrupted as we cut between different shots. In this scene, you see Pumbaa's telling his joke the whole time while we're cutting between Dora and Bud's drunken posse. Once that's all done, you've got yourself an episode. Yes, it's a little more complex and time-consuming than that, but you get the picture. Links to everything I've discussed can be found in the video description, and if you have any questions, leave us a comment. Finally, if you haven't seen it yet, you should do yourself a favor and check out Yesterday's Heroes.
Is that the show that was based on a candy?
Okay, I'll give these guys a like because they did a good job. Okay, what do you think of that? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. That was very informative.
Yeah, it's cool that they can do all those different things with After Effects. After Effects can be used in so many different ways. You know, obviously, if you're doing an animation production, that's a lot of work. And the fact that not only are they drawing backgrounds, but they're creating entire 3D environments. That's something else too. So a lot goes into that. You think about all the character, all the dialogue they have to record, and then that has to be edited. And then they have to animate all the characters individually, put the scenes together, then put it all together in Premiere, and maybe they're creating their own music. You know, it's a ton of work, but I'm sure it's really satisfying. But yeah, a lot of time. Yeah, Renee says it's saying yes, so much time. Yeah, it's definitely. But I think, you know, if it's a labor of love for these folks, you know, something they do on weekends and at night after work or whatever, maybe they build up an audience over YouTube over a certain amount of time, and then maybe they can start getting what's that called, Patreon, you know, submissions that people will give them a little money, throw a few coins their way to keep going. Maybe they can build it up into an actual paying business, or maybe they can sell it to Netflix or something. So it's kind of a cool way to go about, you know, pursuing your passion there. Okay. Let's see. Now, the other thing I wanted to do was we have some tutorials here. So I wanted to go to this first one here, how to use masks to control effects. So with this, let's see, I'm going to have to start up After Effects here. And then you're going to have to download your files via the Get Files tab. Let's see. And let's see. So I'll just read this little description here. It says, learn how to limit an effect to a specific area using a mask on the layer without additional adjustment layers or track matte layers, and then change properties on a per mask basis and save masks and effects. Okay, let's see. So now we got this one. And then here it is. And I'm just assuming we're going to open this file. Okay, so why don't you guys make sure you download that file, open it up in After Effects, and we will check out the video.
There are some effects in After Effects that only act on a portion of a clip. For example, if we look at bulge, we can clearly see that it only affects the pixels that are contained inside of this little bulge widget, and the pixels outside of that widget.
Okay, sorry, I have to remember to go to this from Chrome because my stupid Firefox doesn't let me edit anything. Okay. Or let me use the play controls on the video.
There are some effects in After Effects that only act on a portion of a clip. For example, if we look at bulge, we can clearly see that it only affects the pixels that are contained inside of this little bulge widget.
Okay, so let's try that out. So, well, okay, he didn't give us the opportunity to do that. That sucks. All right, I guess we can't. Let me see. Yep, he didn't give us that opportunity. So I guess he's just showing us how it works. Effects controls, not okay. Maybe if we just open bulge just for grins. Let's see bulge. I'm just going to try this out. Oh yeah. So if you type in the word bulge into your effects and presets, and then you drag that bulge onto one of your layers, you can click and drag that, and that, you know, it's going to bulge out whatever it goes over. Now we don't really want to use that, so I'm going to do Command Z a couple times until it goes away. And then I'll go back to my project window here. All right.
And the pixels outside of that widget are unaffected. Also, many effects in After Effects, such as gradient ramp, contain this blend with original property that allow you to take the unaffected clip and blend it selectively with the fully filtered version of the clip for various effects.
Okay, so let's try that just for grins too. So it's called gradient ramp. So we'll search for that. All right, gradient ramp, there it is. Put that on here, and then blend with original. So if you move that number, that's going to blend your effect with the original video. Okay, once again, I'm going to just get rid of this. Let's see, click on it, just hit delete if you want to get rid of these effects.
Both of these are very useful features, and neither of them has been commonly available in every effect. So Adobe has decided to change all that with some nifty new effect compositing options. I'll delete these effects from this layer and turn on our top layer here. This is a shape layer.
Now, first of all, we got to get to this hopping bird and make sure it's got a shape layer on there. Let's see. Yep, it does. Okay, so it looks like we're turning on the top layer, which is a shape layer.
A star with lots of points, and it's been set as an adjustment layer, so it affects the layers beneath it in the layer stack. The effects applied are a radial blur, kind of a low quality radial blur, which gives us this kind of spin effect, and colorama. And together these two create this nice stained glass effect, which is especially nice when we see the bird hopping behind it. Get this great translucent distortion effect. It looks very real. And it's cool that we can do this, but if you've ever used adjustment layers, you know that there are limitations to how they work. For example, if we move our underlying clip, the adjustment layer doesn't stick to the layer. We can fix that by parenting, of course. We parent our shape layer to our underlying layer so that the adjustment layer travels along. But
Okay, so let's try that. So, of course, parenting is, you know, taking one layer and making it the parent of the other becomes the child. And so everything you do to the parent layer gets done to the child layer. So,
Sir, my birthday was 2 months ago.
You know, we can try that experiment here. We can click on the hopping bird video, and if we move it, then notice that the adjustment layer above doesn't move. Then we can do Command Z to bring it back. Now then you go to the shape layer and you click on this little thing. It's called a pick whip, which is this little swirl. Click on that and simply drag it down, and you're clicking on the one on the top layer and dragging it down and pointing it to the name of the second layer. So now the parenting has said that this layer becomes the child, shape layer becomes the child of hopping bird, which is the parent. And now when you move, the parent layer, that moves with it.
Even if we do that, we can see that the effect is still not moving with the adjustment layer. The center of the radial blur is still stuck to its original point, which is relative to the composition, not to the clip. I'll undo that. So now there's a better way to achieve this kind of an effect. If we turn off our adjustment layer and turn on our mask switch, we can.
Okay, so we're gonna turn off our adjustment layer, which is this eyeball here. And we're gonna turn on our mask switch, which is this little guy down here at the bottom of your window. You roll over it and it says toggle mask and shape path visibility. Click on that and it's going to show you the mask.
We can see that the video layer has a mask applied to it, the same shape and position as the adjustment layer. In fact, to make sure that this is a fair comparison, let's select our shape layer, copy and paste the same effects from our adjustment layer, and paste them to our hopping bird video clip.
Okay, so now we're going to click on shape layer. We're going to see that there's two effects up here. So we're going to click on the top one, hold down our shift key and click on the second one. Oops, let's see. Okay, now I'm just going to go copy. And I'm going to click on my second layer. And I'm going to do paste. And sure enough, it pastes the two effects in on the bottom layer.
Well, things look very different so far, but that's because we have to set up a couple more things. There's no sign of our new compositing options in the effect control panel. But if you look at the effect properties in the timeline, the shortcut to do this is to select the layer and simply hit E on the keyboard. You can see at the bottom of each effect, there's now a category called compositing options.
Okay, so make sure you're on this bottom layer here, hit the letter E on your keyboard, open up the top effect, which is CC radical blur, and now you get something called compositing options. And there's also the same thing down at the bottom of the other effect as well.
And if we twirl that open, we can see that the only property inside here is opacity, which is essentially a blend with original control.
Okay, so let's talk about this top one here. I'm going to close up the bottom one. If you open compositing options, you'll only have opacity, which, as he said, will blend this with the background image or the other images by making it more transparent.
So we adjust that down, the blur goes away, and all we're left with is the colorama, and we fade that back up again. So we've got blend with original effectively built into every effect now.
Okay, so we can try that. Click on this, drag it to the left, and you can see that essentially, you know, every single effect now has the ability to be blended with the original footage. And then take it back up.
However, there are a couple of extra icons to the right here, and these allow us to add mask controls for our effects. It will be useful to see our mask settings too. So with our layer selected, I'll hold down the Shift key and type the letter M to reveal our mask settings as well.
Okay, so now we're going to go into, make sure you have your layer selected, hold down your Shift key and hit the letter M. And that's going to open up the mask layer here so we can see the mask properties.
We open up our timeline window here so we can see things a little bit more clearly. Now, by default, a mask is just a mask, and it's set to add, which creates a stencil on our layer.
Okay, so let me go in there and do what he did. So I'm gonna pull this up a little bit, and here's your mask layer. And if you click on this drop-down menu and you choose add, you can see that the mask is basically creating this little window to show you, it's just, we're just seeing through, we're gonna see through that little window.
Now, I already had this mask set up to none so that we could see the entire video layer, and we'll change that back in just a second. Once we have a mask, we can hit the plus sign in our first effect here to add a new property to our compositing options, mask reference, which will default to the first available mask. If you don't have a mask applied, this will just say none. When set to mask 1, however, you can see the importance of the mask mode that was previously set to none.
Okay, before we go any further, let's go ahead and do that part. So down here, compositing effects, you have a plus and a minus. Click the plus, and now we get mask reference, mask 1. So it's referring to this mask up here.
If we now change that to add, the first effect will only operate on the layer inside the mask.
Okay, so now, let's see. Okay, so when we go up to the mask 1 layer and we hit add, now it's just doing the mask for that one effect, which is the CC radial blur. So that radial blur is only appearing inside the mask. This other effect is the colorama effect.
Set it to subtract, and it will only affect the pixels outside of the mask.
Okay, so add, of course, will make it affect things inside the mask. The opposite, subtract, does everything outside the mask.
The other modes that are inside here relate to how different masks interact with each other. So for now, we're just going to leave this set to add.
Okay, so let's change this back to add and leave it there.
We're going to apply the same mask settings to Colorama. Just hitting the plus sign will add a mask reference and choose the correct mask.
Okay, so let me pause for a second. So somebody, Gabriel asked, is pick whipping the only way to do parenting? No, it's not the only way. ActionScript has, or I'm sorry, ActionScript. After Effects has its own scripting language, which is like, code. And you can actually open up a window and you can actually write code in there to make After Effects do specific things. Of course, that's an advanced feature. We don't get too much into code. Your book does have you write a few little tiny snippets of code inside of After Effects. And I think some of the tutorials we do that as well. But I believe you can do parenting because you can do almost anything via the code. So you could do parenting with that as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is open up the Colorama, go down to compositing options and click the plus sign there. So once again, that's going to give us the mask 1 option. And you can see immediately what it does. It because we have add right up in there, it takes the Colorama and just applies it to the masked area.
And you can see that we've now replicated our adjustment layer effect. But unlike an adjustment layer, the effect now properly travels with the layer and even reflects geometric changes like scale. In addition, effects respect mask feathering. So let's hit the F key to add feather to our property and show that if we feather our mask, turn off our mask display.
Okay, he's kind of jumping ahead here. So let me go ahead and do that part. So if you're on your mask layer here for Hoppingbird 1 and you hit the F key as in feather, then you can click on these numbers and drag them to the right. And when you drag them up high enough, mine's at 60, you'll see that it feathers or blurs the mask out past the edge here. And then it looks like what he did next was turn off his mask layer, probably so that we could see the feathering. So if you go up here and click on this little switch here, it'll get rid of the mask, and now you can see that that's kind of blurred out or feathered on the edges.
Display here so that we can see more clearly. You can see that we now get a smooth gradation instead of our sharp, unfeathered edges. Set that back to 0 and see the sharper results. So,
okay, and now we can go back to here, click on 0 and hit enter, and now it goes back to the sharpness.
there's lots and lots of creative opportunities here. In fact, if we look at our other composition in this project, you can see that this clip has a nifty little watermark effect. It's produced with 2 masks and a fairly impressive stack of effects.
Okay, so let's now go over to that other composition. It's down here in your timeline. Just click on scroll short, and you can see, you know, that he's got this, what he's calling a watermark down here, and there's a number of effects that are being used for that. If you click on the actual layer, it'll show you all of the effects up here in the effects box.
I'm not going to explain all of these to you, but you can probably figure them all out just by turning them all off and then turn them on one at a time. And through a little bit of forensics, I think you can figure out what's going on down
Pardon
here.
me.
If we scrub, you'll see that the watermark animates on as well and fades off using our new blend with original controls.
Okay, so let us look at that. You can grab your playback head and drag it back to the beginning, and then start dragging it over the scene. You'll see that the little logo or watermark animates onto the scene. It's kind of, it's like skewed or scaled to be very small, and then it opens up. You can see that letter M kind of animates into place, and then it fades. Like he said, they probably used keyframes to do that blend with original and take it from, you know, 100% to 0 or something, just so that it completely dissolves into the, not really dissolves, but disappears into the scene. Let's see. Now, by the way, if you ever want to turn off an effect to see, you know, the difference that it's making, all you have to do is click on the little letters FX over here in the effects box, right? So like I can click on FX for the stroke layer, and you can see the stroke is putting the dark line around the edge. Let me go a little further down so I can see everything. Fractal noise is creating some of the texture inside the yellow box. CC toners also, that seems to be responsible for the yellow. The fill is the red color, which is filling in the M. And CC composite seems to be giving some of the texture inside of the M. So that's what each one of those does. All right.
And this brings us to another important benefit of this feature. If we now select our 2 masks and all of these effects, just select them with the Shift key and go up here to our animation menu and choose Save Animation Preset.
Okay, let me just try this real quick. So let's see, effects. Okay. So I think if we open this layer and we open effects, if we click on the stroke and we hold down our Shift key and then clicked on CC some composite, and then we go to animation, and I believe he did save animation preset. Let's see what happens.
Name it watermark and save. We can now freely apply this custom animated watermark to any other layer we like. For example, go out to our project, drag our squirrel short onto.
Okay, so we gotta finish saving that. So I'm gonna call it watermark. And it looks like it's saving it in a little Adobe user presets folder here. Save. Okay, and then we gotta get out of our effects window here and go back to our main project window. So click on this double-headed arrow here and go back to project. And then let's see, I think let me see what he did here. I gotta go back and then see what he did.
And all of these effects, just select them with the Shift key and go up here to our animation menu and choose Save Animation Preset. Name it Watermark and save. We can now freely apply this custom animated watermark to any other layer we like. For example, go out to our project, drag our squirrel short onto a new composition so that we.
Okay, so now what you want to do is we go back to the main project, click on Squirrel Short MP4 and drag it down here to this icon with the colors on it at the bottom. That will make a brand new project, which is just, in this case, it's just a video of the squirrel. So it doesn't have the watermark on it. And you can just see it's the squirrel. Okay.
We have another view of the same clip. Let's zoom out so that we can see everything more clearly. And with our time marker set to frame 0, come back up to our animation menu and choose Recent Animation Presets, Watermark. And
okay, let's try that. So make sure your playback head's at the beginning. Go to Animation, Recent Animation Presets. Click on Watermark. Looks like it adds all of these effects back in. And you can close that up if you want.
And you'll see that it's applied our complex effect, complete with masks, to our clip. This makes it super easy to create and reuse even complex effect setups in After Effects.
Okay, let's give that a shot. Huh, didn't work for me. Let's see. What in the world? What happened that we didn't? Oh, maybe I'm not out far enough. Let me go to the fit window here. Let's see, 100%. Nope, it should be playing. Okay, well, mine is going really slow, so it's probably just, oh, I know why. It's because I have this rendering at full. Let's go quarter. Huh. I did not get my little animation. Okay. Let's see. All right, well, let's, did any of you guys that work for any of you folks?
Didn't work for me either.
Okay. It may be because he's on an earlier version of After Effects and they changed that. Because this video did used to work for me, so they may have made a change to After Effects. Let me just go back a little bit and make sure we didn't miss a step.
Another view of the same clip. Let's zoom out so that we can see everything more clearly. And with our time marker set to frame 0, come back up to our animation menu and choose Recent Animation Presets, Watermark, and you'll see that it's applied our complex effect, complete with masks, to our clip.
The only thing I can think of is maybe I didn't have this layer selected when I applied it, but I thought I did. So let me try one more time. So I'll make sure that this is selected, which it is for sure. And then go animation, apply animation, recent animation presets, watermark. Okay, it throws all those in there. Yeah, unfortunately, his advice is not working for us right now. So we'll have to look into whatever it is that's different about that. Okay,
this makes it super easy to create and reuse even complex effect setups in After Effects. It might take you a few extra steps to set up on the front end, but if your workflow contains any kind of repetitive tasks or elements, this can really save you a lot of time in the long run.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we did learn a few valuable things there, and whatever that error is, I'll look into it and see what's the difference between an earlier version. This is quite an old video. It has worked in the past, but whatever they did with the latest version of After Effects, it's not working on that right now. Okay, but we did learn some cool stuff, and I'll look into whatever it is that we need to do to get that to work. Now we have one more video tutorial today. If you go back to the class website, it's this one called Rotoscope Natural Footage. And you'll need to download these files. It's called rotoscoping.zip. And then open up the rotoscoping file. You don't have to save this other one. Okay, and so now in this video, and once again, they always start you at a full, you can change that to quarter resolution if it'll make your machine play things faster. So this is just a picture of a shark swimming either in a tank or underwater. All right, so go ahead and grab that, and then let's watch the video along with an ad.
We're here on Loud Howe Island to document the conservation efforts to create an installation with Adobe Creative Cloud. I want to show the diversity of the ecosystem above and below water.
Okay, let me just give you some context here. So it looks like this, this video here is actually a video that is promoting a project that this young man did with using Adobe products. And so we'll go ahead and watch it because it is pretty cool. But then it looks like what they actually have us do is they just give us screenshots and have us walk through the different parts of this rotoscoping project. So after we watch the video, we'll just scroll down and do all the steps. But let's go ahead and watch this.
When I started doing animation, I worked a lot with the GIF format. Now I'm also working on video. It was the first time I was shooting underwater. The fact that I can shoot something in Premiere Clip and then upload it on the cloud, it makes my workflow a lot more natural. I imported the video in After Effects and did some rotoscoping of the fish and placed them within the environment that I took in Lightroom Mobile. By showing how rich and diverse the ecosystem is, I really wanted to make people understand how important is it that we preserve it and protect it. I hope that people feel really as immersed in this environment as I was. I feel really empowered that I get to capture this incredible environment with my own eye in a way that will share what I witnessed.
Okay, so a little bit of an ad for Adobe, but also very cool. Looks like he took this footage, you know, with his iPhone, which is waterproof. He shot it on, Adobe has mobile apps that you can download. And what they'll let you do is like, you can shoot, you know, some video, and then from that mobile program, you can save it to your Creative Cloud storage online, and then open it in After Effects and do whatever you want with it. So, you know, what he did was, it looks like he took these pictures of fish swimming and then superimposed them over land, pictures of land, maybe of this this beautiful island. And then those were shown on in a Los Angeles museum in these beautiful big projection walls during Earth Day. So this looks like he was pretty excited to see that. But so we're going to do just a mini version of that. We're gonna take this footage of the shark, and we're gonna make it look like the shark is swimming on the beach, basically. So what you have to do is open the project file first, which is what we've already done. Now it says double click the sharp MP4 layer in the timeline to open it in its own layer window. Okay, so what you want to do is, you've got Shark MP4 down here, double click on it, and you'll open it in what's called a layer mode. And you can tell that this is different from the regular composition because it's got its own little timeline information here. And also up here it says layer as opposed to the name of the composition. Okay. Now use the RotoBrush tool. In order to separate the shark from the background, you need to define the edges of the shark in the first frame of the footage. click the Roto Brush tool. Now the Roto Brush tool looks like a little person with a giant brush. So it's this one right up here in your toolbox. So click on that, and now you've got your Roto Brush tool. Okay, with the Roto Brush tool selected, define the areas of the footage that you want to keep. Change the view level to fit the entire shark's body in the frame. Okay, so that's the next thing we want to do. So you want to be able to see this entire shark's body. So go down here and, like, you know, right now I'm at 131%. I can go to 200%. Let's see, 200% is pretty good. You can hold your space bar down, and then your mouse becomes a hand tool, and then you can move the shark around in the window. If you want to go even higher, you can. I guess I could go to 400%. Well, then I'm not getting the entire shark's body. So let's see, I guess I'm going to have to stick with 200. And that way I can see the whole shark. Okay. Okay, now it says use the brush to paint along the interior of the shark's body. A magenta segmentation body appears around the shark, indicating the foreground object to be separated from the background. Now, all you really have to do is start your brush and click up here at the top of the top fin and just follow this green line. So you just hold your brush down and you pull down into this fin, then you pull over here into his snout here, come all the way back and go up into the tail a little bit. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We got our Roto Brush tool. When we come on here, we're gonna see like a little green circle. We're gonna click and we're gonna drag down. It's like you're painting into this fin here and towards his nose, then back in his body, and then up here like this. Now, when you let go, notice that it draws a magenta line around the whole creature. Okay, I'm getting some error message here, but I'm not really gonna worry about it. So what that does is the Roto Brush tool allows you to define the edges of the shark's body. So it says, after defining the shark's body, use the Roto Brush tool to refine any edges that are not perfect. Press the Alt Option key on your keyboard and notice that the brush tool changes from a green circle to a red one. Hold Alt Option while painting to define areas of background that you want removed. Pay close attention to areas around the shark's fin where the initial selection is not perfect. It's important to spend as much time as needed to make your first selection as precise as possible. Okay, so it's the Alt key on Windows, the Option key on Macintoshes. So now at this point, I can probably go into my 400% and see my shark here. Now, it looks like it's actually a pretty good selection of the shark here. I don't see anything that's really terribly off. But if there were, you would click on the Roto Brush tool and you would hold down your Alt or your Option key, and then it would turn red, and then you would just paint over the area you didn't want to keep, and it would remove that. Okay, but looks like it's pretty good on ours, or on mine at least. Now, it says refine the Roto Brush map. Once you've defined your foreground selection, use the Effects Control panel to refine the edge further. First, first click the toggle alpha boundary icon below the footage to preview the shark against a black background. Okay, so what we want to do is down here immediately under the shark, you're going to have these little buttons, right? If you click on the very first button, it's going to show you the shark on a black background. And there it is. Now, I think that the reason my shark looks so pixelated is because I'm down in the draft view instead of the full view. But that shows you kind of how the shark's going to be isolated on the footage. Okay. Okay, now open the Effects Control panel, and let's see. Now, theirs looks okay. Theirs looks a little different, but I'm not sure if that's because they're showing the view a little further down the line here. Let me just double check and make sure we don't see anything different. Yeah, okay, it's got to be that one right there. All right. Okay, next, Open the effects control panel and find the options listed under Roto Brush Mat. Okay, so we got, here's the effects control panel, and there's options under Roto Brush Mat. Oh, wow. It says here what the solution is to my problem. Frame rate mismatch or footage with fields found. For best roto brush and refine edge results, set the composition to 23.518 FPS to match the layer source. Okay, so if you guys have this error message too, we want to change the composition frame rate. So 23.518. So you can go under composition settings. Change this to 23.518 and hit OK. And okay, it says draw a roto brush and refine edge strokes at full resolution. View resolution full for best results. Okay, so we're going to go view resolution full. Yeah, see, like I said, it's because I went down a quarter. Okay, there we go. So now I fixed my frame rate problem, and I also have fixed the edge problem. So now everything looks nice and clean. Okay, so let's see what they want us to do next. So let's see. Open the effects control panel. Find the options listed under Roto Brush Mat. You can get good results by increasing the feather value, reducing shift edge to a negative amount, and adjusting the reduced chatter percentage to help smooth edges. Now, the one thing that's disturbing to me is that they seem to be seeing their shark, and we're only seeing we're only seeing the black.
Click on that icon again, and it'll come up.
Okay, there we go. I'll click on it a second time, and then you get your shark. All right. Now, at this point, you might want to zoom in some more. So I went to 200, and I'm holding down my space key to move this shark over into the center. Now, what you want to experiment with are these things over here, these options: feather, contrast, shift edge, and reduce chatter. And these are the options that they tell you. It says you can get good results by increasing the feather value. Okay, so let's try increasing the feather value a little bit. So we'll go to feather, it's at 5. So we'll click on that and drag it over a little bit. Okay, and it looks like it is, it's definitely giving me a smoother picture of the shark. So I'm going to increase that to like 11.6 for me. Let's see, next, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it says reduced shift edge to a negative amount. Okay, so shift edge is this one down here. Click on that, drag it down to a negative amount. Okay. And then I took mine to -9. Let's see, next. And adjust the reduced chatter percentage to help smooth the edges. So adjust reduced chatter. So that's this one right here. So let's see, if we make it a positive, what happens? I don't see anything. So let me make it a negative. Let's see. Oh, we can't make it a negative. So you basically just have to bring this reduced chatter up to a positive number, and it will help with the quality of the mask there. Okay, so go ahead and choose something that works for you. All right. Well, it looks like they've got some numbers in here for us. 9.5 for the feather, 80% for the contrast. Let's try those. So 9.5 for the feather. Oh, I came pretty close. 80% is the contrast, is what it is now. -42 for the shift edge. I only went -9, so I got to go down to close to -42. And then for the reduced chatter, 48. Okay, I was at 28, so I got to bump that up quite a bit. 47, close enough. Okay. All right, now refine the mat for all frames. Now you've defined the mask for the first frame. You need to step through the rest of the frames in the sequence to make sure the mask is precise. After Effects uses a combination of techniques to automatically calculate the edges of the object that is defined in the first frame and applies it to the following frames as best as possible. For best results, step through the frames and make manual corrections when necessary. First, click and drag the Roto Brush span, the dark gray bar, to increase its length so it takes up the full length of the footage. Okay, now this one is kind of hard to see. In fact, it's really hard to see, and I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this thing. But if you look under this little row of numbers here, it's really hard to see, but there's like a gray bar here that stops before 1 second. And what you have to do is you have to hover your mouse over the edge of that bar, click on it, and drag it all the way to the right, all the way to the end of the footage. Okay, so hopefully you can find that because it's really quite hard to see. So that's the roto brush span. And now it takes up the full length of the footage. It says next, open the preview panel and click next frame to advance the footage by 1 frame. Okay, so we got to open the preview panel. So here's preview right here. And if you roll over this triangle facing right with 1 line behind it, if you click on that, it will take you forward exactly 1 frame, right? And what you have to do is just keep going through this, looking at it 1 frame at a time, and see if anything changes, like in the mask. Like if it gets worse, then you've got to stop. And once again, you use the roto brush tool to add to the selection, and you hold down the Alt or the Option and Paint with the roto brush tool to subtract from the selection. Let me see if they give us any more advice before we keep going. Let's see. It says okay, so we got to go all the way through it. So let's go all the way through it. Now it should be pretty darn good. You shouldn't really have that many issues. So, but let's go ahead and step through all the frames. You got to click it, and in my case, you got to let it render. The shark is looking very, very good. I don't see a lot of opportunity to change him right here, but I'm just going to keep clicking on this thing, go all the way through. Yeah, I think he's fine. Let me see what happens if I just hit my play button. What'll happen? Yeah, I think he looks fine. Because once again, this tutorial is a year or 2 old, and you know, the software's only improved in that time. Now there are a few spots where he gets the edge gets a little chattery, you know, it gets a little, some curves in it, but it's really so good that I'm not really that worried about it. Okay, and then let's see. Let me see if I can. Okay, it looks like the roto brush is now catching up. It's basically propagating or creating the mask for 84 frames that it played through. You can see that message down here. And then when it's done with that, I'll hit play again and let it create the masks for the rest of the footage. Now, once again, if this were a difficult shot to mask, you'd have to go through every frame and make adjustments, but it seems to be a pretty straightforward one. Okay, so now, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to go through the remaining frames here of my movie. Okay, and let it propagate all the rest of those. So once again, what it's doing is it's saying, yeah, the mask was perfect. I'm just gonna go ahead and record that as the mask. And then after it's done with propagation, then we have to hit this little freeze button. And what the freeze button is gonna do is gonna freeze that as the track that the mat will take throughout the footage, or the mask, I should say. So while that's happening, I'm gonna go back to the instructions here. So it says, when you're satisfied with the selection boundaries throughout the entire footage, click freeze in the lower right corner of the layer window to save the boundary information. After that process is finished, switch back to the composition window. Okay, so as soon as it's done with updating and propagating all the frames, we're gonna click the freeze button. So right now we got about 52 more frames for it to render. But it's going pretty quick. Okay, now it seems to have propagated all the frames. So now I'm gonna go down here and click my freeze button, and it's gonna freeze all those frames in place. Now, for some reason, mine didn't seem to track all of the frames. It because I had over like 152, and this freezing is only freezing 97 of them. So I may only get a partial animation out of this, but you guys will still get the same demonstration of how it works. All right, so my computer's struggling with this a little bit. Okay, so I'll tell you what, let me see if I can hit the stop button on this, if it'll let me stop. Because once again, yeah, that's fine. So, so now we want to go back to the composition window. So go back to your composition. Okay, return to the composition window. Okay, add a background image. Now, to create the composite footage, you will need to add an image behind the shark footage. Drag background.jpg from the project panel to the timeline, just below the shark MP4 layer. Okay, so you're gonna have to switch from the effects to your project window. You're gonna grab background.jpg and drag it down here below the shark layer. And now you're gonna see you have your shark on top of the beach. Okay, now it says, select the shark MP4 layer and use the bounding box handles to resize and rotate the shark so it fits the scene to your liking. Okay, so you can click on shark MP4 and let's see. If you click on the shark MP4 and like you click on your rotation button up here. You can rotate the shark so that, you know, he's at the appropriate space that you want. And then we'll click that off for a second. Click on to this. You can also click on your arrow tool, and you can use that to scale the shark. And of course, you can move the shark around just by clicking on these bounding box handles. Sort of position the shark where you want him on the scene. Okay, and now next, color correct the footage. Now, to make a convincing composite, the shark will need some color correction to help match the background. Select the shark MP4 layer in the timeline and choose Effect Color Correction. Okay, so we're gonna make sure we have Shark MP4. We're gonna go Effect, and then we're gonna go Color Correction. Let's see which one they wanted us to pick. Color correction. For this footage, a number of different effect layers are needed. Okay, well, let's see. So Effect Color Correction. Well, it's not giving us, yeah, once again, this is a, let me see if we search for it over here, color correction, let me try color controls. Let's see what happens there. Color control, no, that's not the one I want. Okay, so once again, it's because it's a little bit of an older video. Let's see. It looks like curves, hue, saturation, photo filter. So it looks like he's doing different things here. He says add curves, a hue, saturation, a photo filter, and a brightness and contrast effects layer. Okay, so I guess all he's saying is go to color correction first and then add these different layers. So curves, hue, and saturation, let's start with that. So we're gonna go to, let's see, we can go in here to effects. Let me see, let me close this. Go back to the project. Okay, click on Shark, go Effect, Color Correction, and let's start with curves. Okay, so that's gonna add a curves effect. Next, we can do hue saturation. So Effect, Color Correction, hue saturation. Okay, so it's opening up all these effects, and you can close these by just closing these little disclosure triangles here for them. So we've got hue, saturation, and curves, and then he also wants photo filter and brightness and contrast. Okay, so photo filter, so Effect, Color Correction, photo filter. Well, close that up, and then Effect, Color Correction, brightness, contrast. Okay, now of course you can keyframe all these, but we don't have to do that. We can just do them one at a time. Now you have to do these to your liking, right? So for example, if you want to make it so the shark kind of looks like he belongs in the scene, you can click on this brightness slider and move it over to the right and try and brighten him up a bit so he looks like, you know, the appropriate amount of sunlight is hitting him. You can also click on the contrast slider and move it to the right or the left and see if you like what that does with him. Now in my case, it's just kind of making him a little darker, which I don't necessarily really want. So I think I'm gonna leave that to 0. Now, once you've set a setting, you can go ahead and close that filter and then open the next one. So for photo filter, right now we have something called a warming filter on. We can click that and we can try something like a cooling filter and see how that changes him, right? So now he becomes a little more blue. And we can change this number here to change how much it affects, how much the filter mixes with the original. And there's different kinds of cooling filters here. You can try different ones, get different effects. You can also try filters that have specific colors. Like here's one that is a cyan filter, and that's going to give a certain look. Let's see, I'm just going to try. You can experiment with a couple different filters and find something that works for you. Okay, I'm just gonna, let's see, what does an underwater filter look like? Yeah, see, these are all too bright for me. The warming filter warms them up. I don't really know that I like that. Cooling filter. Okay, it's personal preference. I'm going to choose cooling filter LBB because that just works for me. I just like the way it looks. Okay, and once again, I can choose to mix that as much or as little with my original color as possible via the density. Now I'm going to close that up. I'm going to open up hue saturation. So for hue saturation, let's see, master hue. Let's see, that is not doing what I want it to do. Let me see. Master hue, master saturation, master lightness. Okay, yeah. If you just grab this little, this like clock thing here and you drag it, you can change the hue of your shark like this. I don't really want to change the hue, so I'm going to set that back to 0. But I will experiment with the saturation. If I desaturate him, he will become more gray like a real shark. So I kind of like that idea. And then master lightness, moving it to the left darkens him more, moving it to the right lightens him up a little bit. So I think I'm going to desaturate him quite a bit, almost down to black and white, but I'll leave his lightness pretty close to the original. Okay, then we've got curves, which is kind of similar to contrast. In this line right here, you can click on this line a couple times and you can make points. And then when you drag one direction or the other, it's either going to lighten or darken the colors. And of course, you can drag it so that you get little curves like this as well. I'm going to see, sometimes if you put a subtle S curve on here, it can look kind of good. And here's the S starting at the top going down. Sometimes a reverse S will work, will give you the effects you want, and sometimes an arc, which is going like this. And I just like the arc out of those 3. That's my choice. And those are our 4 effects that we use: curves, hue, saturation, photo filter, and brightness and contrast. Okay, let's see what's next. So we played with those. And then when you're satisfied with how things look, click the play button in the preview panel to play your finished composition. Now, as I said, I don't know that it rendered all of my frames. It looks like it only rendered 97 of them. So I may not get the full Megillah here, but let's see what happens. So I turned mine down to the draft, the quarter resolution, just so that it would play. Okay, yeah. So like I said, you can see right there that it only gives me the first 97 frames and then it cuts back to the original footage. But that's just because my machine jacked up a little bit. But for you guys, it should give you the entire scene with the shark swimming over it. And of course, you can play it in full resolution and it should look really good. So let's see. Let me check in with you guys, see how you're doing. So did you guys get that to work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So that's a pretty useful technique there. And it's nice to know that you can make the little mask with that RotoBrush tool, go through every frame and adjust it. And then, use all these effects to do color correction and stuff like that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. Do you guys have any questions about your projects or anything like that? Okay, so we only got a few minutes left of class. Why don't you guys spend these last few minutes thinking about what you want to do for your abstract project if you haven't thought of it already, and then maybe start getting some assets together so you can start grabbing footage or planning out the footage you're going to shoot. You can maybe get some music, start looking around some of the royalty-free or copyright-free music sites out there on the internet and get some audio, or even create your own if you want. And of course, feel free to use everything that you've learned already. You can use Foley sound effects and whatever else you've learned in this class kinetic text and everything like that in your projects. Okay, so I'm just going to give you guys the last 15 minutes to work on that, and I'm going to shut my video off, but just pop in and ask me a question if you have one. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to